What's up, GBA fans? Welcome to Week 2 of the GBA Season 3 recap. I'm Gym Leader Geo.
And I'm Tony of TandATV, and we will be your hosts as we catch you up on all the events of this past week in the GBA. After a great opening week, the GBA saw more exciting matches in Week 2, with several down-to-the-wire matches and some impressive blowout wins.
That's right, Tony. We saw some teams continue their early season dominance, other teams pick up much-needed wins, and a few teams that are left scratching their heads after a 0-2 start. Let's have a look at our first matchup, the Denver Bronzongs versus the Boston Red Sox.
The defending champion Red Sox had a tough match against the Bronzongs, who were hungry for their first win. Lucario put in a valiant effort with 2 kills for the Bronzongs, but in the end, the power and teamwork of the defending champs proved just to be too much.
Coach Superblaw and the Boston Red Sox win again and continue on their hot streak from last season. Meanwhile, Baby Roge and the Denver Bronzongs will be waiting until at least next week for their first GBA win. Tony, what do you think of the Red Sox selecting Hawlucha with their #1 pick in this year's draft?
Geo, this was a great pickup for Nick and the Red Sox. Hawlucha is fast, powerful, and only got better from the Oris move tutors. I think it will be a key piece for the Red Sox on their quest to repeat as champions.
Moving on to match 2, we've got the LA Nitto Kings versus the Atlanta Hawluchas. The final score here was 4-0 in favor of the Hawluchas, but the match was a lot closer than the final score indicated.
It seemed like the Nitto Kings were playing from behind this entire match. The Pokemon really showed a lot of guts hanging in there, but Keldeo and the rest of the Hawluchas team would not be denied that W.
Right you are, Tony. A key play in this match was Mega Pinsir telling Coach Danza of the Nitto Kings it was fine time to set up Swords Dance on Keldeo, but the wily veteran Keldeo saw this play coming a mile away and took Pinsir out with a hidden power. With their top player down and out, the Nitto Kings just didn't have the offensive to break down the Hawluchas.
Match number 3 this week was between the Toronto Maple Leafeons, coached by Kote, versus Shady Penguins' New York Menkes. This match quickly turned into an absolute bloodbath, with the Leafeons' Manaphy demolishing through the Menkes' side in a 6-0 clean sweep.
Not much to say here, Tony. The Menkes did not have a good answer for the overwhelming power of the premier weather team in this league. Kote saw an opportunity to get Manaphy in the fray with some tail glow setup, and then it was off to the races. The Menkes will need to regroup quickly and get ready for next week. At 1-1, they're still in the thick of the playoff race, but it'll be even hungrier than ever moving forward.
Kote's Toronto Maple Leafeons have looked unbeatable through the first 2 games of this season. Will anyone be able to stop them? After a tough loss in the playoffs last year, Kote is clearly sending a message early in this season that his team may be the one to beat in the Kanto Conference.
Moving on to match 4 with the Arizona Deoxys led by Gubs Tacular taking care of Mega Mogwai's Real Maril 4-0 in a game that Coach Gubs seemed to control from the outset.
Right you are, Geo. Mega Mogwai and the Maril tried to put pressure on the Deoxys with hazards early on, but a clutch defog by the Deoxys' Togekiss removed the Maril's hazard advantage, and it was all Deoxys from there. Anything about this match you'd like to discuss, Geo?
Tony, the surprise assault vest from the Deoxys Toxicroak caught Miguel by surprise really early and cost him his Miss Magius. So early in the match, things like that are really going to influence the outcome. The Maril tried to claw back into the match with Mega Gardevoir and Infernape, but Coach Gubs and the Deoxys had all the answers and are off to an impressive 2-0 start to the season.
The Deoxys are arguably the best team in the GBA to never win a title. With a few key pieces becoming free agents after this season, the Deoxys are playing with a sense of urgency. Let's move on to match number 5, featuring the Anaheim Mighty Ducklets versus the New Orleans Pelippers. Coach John and the Pelippers outdueled Coach Adam and the Ducklets in a close 2-0 win in favor of the Pelippers.
Gudra strikes again this week, Tony. Adam and the Ducklets just had no answers for that sticky dragon. Just like last week, John used Gudra to near perfection with great coverage moves, special bulk, and respectable attack. At the end of the game, Adam's remaining Pokemon just had nothing left to take it down. Sometimes, not dying is all a Pokemon needs to do, and Gudra does that pretty well.
A well-played game from both sides that could have gone either way. John played an excellent in-game strategy and is now off to a 2-0 start, while Adam falls to 1-1. Adam and the Ducklets will need a win next week to try to stay in the first place race in the Silver Division.
Game number 6 featured the Cleveland Cavaliers coached by Numb Nexus going head-to-head against the San Jose Sharpedos. Coach Tom of the Sharpie used his team's strengths to perfection in a 5-0 victory for the Sharpie. Tony, what did you think about Cleveland Cavaliers Pokemon in this matchup?
Well, Gio, from the outset of this battle, it was clear that the Cavaliers had nothing in this fight to stop Clefable or Mega Venusaur. I think that if Coach Nexus had brought Cavalier, the team namesake, he could have made this a more difficult matchup, at least for Mega Venusaur, and possibly the rest of the Sharpedos.
Mega Venusaur just ran through the Cavaliers, Tony. I could not agree with you more. With 6 kills in this matchup. Take note, everyone, if you don't have an answer for your opponent's threats, the match can be over in a hurry. Mega Venusaur was out for blood and didn't even let some of his teammates see the field in this one. We may have a potential MVP candidate here, so other teams better take notice of that monster that is Mega Venusaur moving forward.
Let's move on to match number 7. The Utah Jasmine against the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. A solid 3-0 win for Coach Cooper of the Jasmine, while Coach Steve of the Sawsbucks is left thinking about what could have been. Thoughts on this match, Gio?
It was a pretty devastating loss for the Sawsbucks here. The Sawsbucks Greninja was trying to stage a late comeback, but the Jasmine's Whimsicott got a prankster Sunspore on the Frog, who got fully paralyzed that same turn. Whimsicott was able to take down Greninja and secure the 3-0 win for the Jasmine.
Whimsicott is not what many people would think of as an MVP candidate, but it put together some impressive numbers in this match. The Sawsbucks really have to get their act together now after an 0-2 start in a very competitive gold division. It won't be easy, but I've never seen a better motivator for his players than Coach Steve.
Finally, game number 8 this week was clash between the new and the old. Swagalith and the Pittsburgh Steelix squared off against expansion team A-Drive's St. Louis Rampardos. The Rampardos came away victorious here with a 2-0 win, but there was much more to this match than the score indicated.
Absolutely, Gio. Swagalith brought Beedrill to this matchup, but didn't have the Mega Bracelet to Mega Evolve, starting him at a clear disadvantage. But Swagalith is a great player, and he was able to keep the team calm and jumped out to a 5-2 lead. Just when it seemed like the Steelix had this match in the bag, the Rampardos roared back with Garchomp setting up a Swords Dance on Beedrill and ripping through Joe's team for a 2-0 win. What a game, Gio.
Just a fantastic GBA match with plot twists, predictions, and momentum swings. This match had it all. The Rampardos get their first GBA win and improve to a 1-1 while the Steelix fall to 0-2. It'll be tough to recover from an 0-2 start, and the Steelix will need to start getting some wins if they want to make it back to the playoffs this season.
Now that we're all caught up on this week's matchups, let's have a look at the conference breakdown.
The Johto Conference picked up some key wins this week, but the Kanto Conference still reigns supreme with 4 undefeated teams after week 2. All divisions are looking fairly competitive, but the undefeated Deoxys, Leafeons, Red Sox, and Hawlucha have to be the early favorites in their divisions and in the Kanto Conference. Early on, it looks like the Johto Conference will be tight, and I think some teams will be looking for statement wins next week to show that they should be considered favorites to make the playoffs.
Great assessment, Gio. Although it's early in the season, teams want to avoid dropping games so that they can control their own destiny later in the season. In week 3, several teams will be looking to get their first win and avoid an 0-3 hole to start the season.
And let's finish off today with a look at the Season 3 MVP race. Some big performances in Week 2 completely changed the standings from last week, Tony.
That's right, Gio. After 6-0 beatdowns of their opponents, the Leafeons Manaphy and the Sharpedos Mega Venusaur emerge on top of this week's MVP race with +6 differential for both Pokemon.
Even after sitting on the bench this week, the Arizona Deoxys Volcarona Week 1 sweep still has it at number 3 in the MVP race with a +5 differential.
And rounding out the top 5, we have the Utah Jasmine's Whimsicott and the St. Louis Rampardos' Garchomp, both netting 4 kills this week and solid performances. Both Pokemon now have a +4 differential.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this week's recap. Tune in next week for more weekly recap.
If you're interested in seeing more of your hosts, feel free to check out our personal channels. Links in the description below.
I'm Gym Leader Geo.
And I'm Tony.
And on behalf of the GBA, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys next time.
Awesome.